Welcome back to Chin Music, our baseball show at TalkNorth.com. We are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
Scott for Aquarius, where we make home services easy. Summer's wrapping up and those cold, crisp mornings are on the way. Is your furnace ready for the change of seasons? Upgrade now with 36 months 0% financing and stay comfy from the last warm afternoon to the cold winter ahead. Beat Mother Nature at her own game. Schedule your free estimate at AquariusHomeservices.com. Financing based on credit approval. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
And Chin Music is presented to you by Onyx Maps. We'll tell you more about Onyx and our other sponsors here in a little bit. The lineup today, former Twins star Roy Smalley and former Twins broadcaster LaVelle Neal III from the Star Tribune. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. We appreciate you listening. The best way to listen, subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen as well. All right, gentlemen, we'll get to the baseball playoffs, which have been pretty fascinating, pretty dramatic so far. We're talking here on Thursday morning. So, by the time you hear this, some of the other series might have wrapped up, but we'll give you a recap of what we've seen so far. In particular, I want to ask you guys about the Aaron Judge home run off Louie Varland, which is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in sports. But let's start today. LaVelle, any update or any more insights as to what might be going on with the Twins managerial search or their timetable?
It doesn't sound like things have started picking up yet, and that's in terms of maybe there may be have been some contact with potential candidates, but in terms of like interviews and stuff, I'm not sure if that's really gone down. An indication I received that things would wrap up next week, and as some of these teams get knocked out, a couple of candidates, could possibly become available to talk to. So, I put James Rowson in one of my speculative list of candidates, and the big bad Yankees are no longer in the postseason here. So, let the speculation begin if the Twins bring him in, or at least have a conversation with him about being our next manager. And you'll see more of this going forward. I mean, some teams have already positioned themselves with candidates, like Skip Schumacher with the Rangers. Kurt Suzuki got an interview with the Angels. That one came out of nowhere. I didn't see Suzuki being a potential manager, but these catchers, man, they think they know everything, so they always want to run everything. And then and Hundley, who played with Buster Posey with the Giants, looks like he's positioned to land there. So there's been some maneuvering going on, just not a lot by the Twins right now.
I love Rowson as a candidate. He's probably my favorite candidate. But the other thing about this, Roy, managerial searches, there's always a level of mystery because you might hire somebody from a minor league. You might hire somebody who's somebody else's bench coach. It feels like now anybody could get hired. I mean, there are so many different categories of candidates. You can just hire a big name. You can hire somebody from a broadcast booth. You can hire somebody who's never managed before. Hire somebody to just kind of be your figurehead. It's really made predicting who's going to be the next manager a little more difficult.
Yeah, it's an excellent point because what you're saying is as the front office, as the decision makers look at a manager, a potential manager, say, okay, the first question is, what do we need? It's always good to know what it is exactly that your objective is, right? What does this team need? So this team that they have right now, and then the team that they might have if they've got some targeted acquisitions, does it need the Dusty Baker, Bruce Bochy type, a guy to be the guy that's been there, seen everything, done everything, won, and needs a steady hand? Does it need some young, fiery person that relates to young kids, knows how to relate to younger kids? Do they need somebody that will just accept the analytics that come down from on high? What are you looking for? And those things are not, oftentimes not clear cut. Then they run into somebody that has some combination of, and then say, oh well, we hadn't thought of that. What about that? So I think it's a really good point. I think that it could be, depending on what they ultimately decide is the need for the club. It could be anybody, and the bottom line is, your players have to perform, and the manager has something to do with that. I suppose analytics has something to do with that, but the final analysis, who has the most to do with that is players that get on the field and play really, really well, right? And so it's, the manager search is kind of an interesting, nebulous kind of deal. And as we're talking about this, I just want to mention, boy, that David Popkins just can't coach hitting at all. That's for sure. So we needed to, he needed to be fired. And it relates to what he's, his abilities. It relates to Rocco's abilities. This is what happens. This is kind of what we're talking about, is that, who the heck knows? Sometimes the decision makers in an organization, and sometimes not.
Yeah, that's a great point, boy. And then you look at like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who had an incredible series and did everything you would want a primetime power hitter to do. Power to his pull field, bullet line drives to the opposite field, makes him impossible to pitch to. He seized the moment. He was fantastic. And, as I always say, do you give the hitting coach credit for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. having a great series? Probably not. It's probably on him, Right. But Popkins, what we know now is the Twins hit better with him than they hit without him. And now the team he is helping to coach had a great offensive series to beat the Yankees. Can't overlook any of that.
Well, and the thing that I think that the salient point there with him is not Vladimir Guerrero. It is everybody else. And Schmaltz was talking about it on TV last night. He said, you look at and he used Clement as an example. The kid just hit a line driver, got a base hit every time he went up there. But short, compact, directly to the ball. Kind of thing. That's the result of two things. It's a result of really good drafting or acquiring or developing of young players, into the kind of swings that you want to have, or the kind of swings that they have, and you say, okay, we can work with this. Let's get somebody that knows how to do this. I think in this case, I think you got to give Popkins at least a third of the credit between, the acquisition of players, the coaching of them in the minor leagues, and then what Popkins has done. He deserves at least a third, at least 100% of that piece of it, and maybe more than that, because those guys, they battle. They don't strike out a lot. They spoil pitches. They hit the ball to the opposite field, and they get runners on base. And that's the whole point. And I think you got to give Popkins a hell of a lot of credit.
I agree with you. And it's going to be fascinating because the Twins, they have a lot of starting pitching talent. We'll see how the young guys come along. We'll see if they stay healthy. They have to rebuild the bullpen, which is on the front office. But the young hitters, that's the big variable in this organization. You could see Royce becoming a superstar. You could see him falling apart. You could see Brooks Lee being a really good player. You could see him being an average player. You could see Matt Wallner hitting 30 home runs a year. You could see him not having a career. And then you have the young guys, Jenkins and Emma Rodriguez and Culpepper coming up, who are going to be on the same microscope. It feels like the biggest variable in this organization is what those young hitters do, and they better find the right guy to work with them.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing most guys know the ins and outs of hitting and the X's and O's. I'm not saying they have to build great relationships for everybody they work with, but it seems like dealing with egos, dealing with personalities is a big part of this. And you got to be able to have the right touch with different people in order to get the most out of them. But it's a head scratcher why the hitters here have not gotten over the hump. But, Popkins hasn't gotten in the way of some of the Toronto hitters like George Springer or Alejandro Kirk or those guys. They beat the crap out of the Yankees. I think they took 8 out of 9 against New York during the regular season. And they just bludgeoned them the first 2 games of the series. I keep thinking about and watching these games going, Popkins is sitting over there when he should be in the Twins dugout, for Christ's sakes, So, it's fascinating, especially, in the managerial search too, dealing with personalities. I still remember Terry Francona's book. People don't know how much shit you have to put up with in this job. And how they handle how they handle all that stuff, goes a lot to who they are and what they are. So, it just seemed like being able to develop relationships in addition to X's and O's and the analytical reports, it's just as important.
Agreed. All right, let's get to another former Twins employee here in a second. We do want to tell you about Onyx Hunt. Have you ever driven past a piece of land and wondered who owns that, or maybe you need to know exactly where a property line runs? That's where Onyx Hunt comes in, and it's not just for hunters. There are folks using Onyx for their jobs every day throughout the country, from farmers and ranchers mapping out their fields, wildland firefighters navigating rough terrain, to construction workers needing to know who owns what property. This app offers something for everyone. If you need the best land ownership maps, aerial imagery, and property boundaries in your pocket, Onyx Hunt is the tool for the job. Try it free for 7 days. Download Onyx Hunt in the app or Google Play Store, or visit onyxmaps.com/hunt to get started. So Louie Varland ends up being the opener in the clinching game. They ended up using every game, and his numbers would have looked really good in a short series if not for maybe the most incredible swing I've ever seen in my life. Louie Varland throws a 100-mile-an-hour fastball about 1.5 feet inside to Aaron Judge in Game 3. I mean, that is a pitch that if you can make contact, it would take superhuman skill to make contact with that pitch. And if you make contact with that pitch, you're probably going to kill somebody in the third base dugout.
Right.
He finds a way to hit it off the foul pole. I don't know how he did it. I don't understand. And there is a stat out there in the StatCast era. Nobody's ever hit a pitch thrown that hard, that far inside for a home run. Roy, are you as bamboozled by that swing as I am?
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly how he did it, and why it ended up off the foul pole. I just don't know how. I don't know how to say this. I know why the result happened. I just don't know how he did it. It was all of the things that you said, and I really believe that only Aaron Judge could have pulled that off, because the reason that it happened, and we see guys do this all the time. A ball's inside. They instead of extending their hands, trying to extend to get extension with their hands going, down the line of flight of the ball, directly back at the ball, they throw their hands inside, which throws the big end of the barrel to the inside part more quickly, and they make contact with it. Now sometimes in the best of times, they may hit the ball down the fair down the left field line for a double. Maybe they pull it a little bit foul. Maybe they hit it in the seats down the left field line, as you say. But very rarely do they really square it up on the big end in the sweet spot, and never, ever that far inside at 100 miles an hour. I mean, never. So when I watched that swing over and over and over again and watch in slow motion, his ability and strength to move his hands that fast from normal hand trajectory at the ball to his rib cage and beyond, in a literally a fraction of a second, in order to get the big end of the bat to the ball. And the position that he actually did accomplish was the position it had to be in to keep that ball fair. I know why it happened, because I saw it. I saw everything that he did. And you would say, okay, if a guy could do that, then that could be the result. But as long as I live, I will still think of that as a hypothetical, and that not the fact that he actually flipping did it.
I felt bad for Louie, because that pitch just should be a foul ball at best, and he ends up giving up a home run. But man, I'm just shocked. So is Aaron Judge the best hitter in the game right now?
Well, if you're asking me, I think the answer is yes. I don't know how you're winning batting title and hit over 50 home runs. I do know how you do it. Your name is Mickey Mantle or Jimmy Fox or Aaron Judge. I mean, that's how you do it. So I got to say yes.
I agree. The other thing about that home run too is that his arms have to be at least 40 inches long, right? It got to be. For him to just get all that folded inside and hit the ball, that was remarkable. Because when I didn't see the home run live, I saw the replay. So when I saw Judge circling the bases, I saw Louie on the mound. I was like, oh no, what did Louie throw Aaron Judge there? I saw the replay. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Yes, he is the best hitter in the game. There's been players with great performances, Ohtani, Big Dumper in Seattle, Soto's first year with the Mets. But my goodness, the average in power numbers are just ridiculous. What we're watching unfold here is that he is becoming the Mike Trout of the East, as the Yankees are wasting the best years of his career, just like the Angels have wasted Mike Trout's career. And they got some holes in that roster. They got 2 starters with Tommy John surgeries and Clark Schmidt and Garrett Cole. They're able to do it without, the fact that Judge had this year without Juan Soto was impressive. But, what can they do to put a winner around him and take advantage of this great hitter before it's too late?
Yep. All true.
I got to make a quick point about LaVelle's point, which I think is really smart. Last year, Judge was hitting in front of Soto, right? This year, it's Bellinger and then the kid from playing first, or against
Ben Rice.
Ben Rice, and then or it's Stanton maybe against a left-handed pitcher. But
right.
I nothing against Bellinger. I like him as he's a nice player. He's not Juan Soto. There is you pitcher go out there and pitch a Judge, and they look at who's behind him, and they say, yeah, good major league hitter, but so what? I'm not pitching. I don't want to pitch the Judge. So it's it's remarkable what he's accomplished in the last 4 years, and especially this past year.
All right, let's do a little more baseball playoffs. We'll also do our Booze and Blues segment at the end of this episode. We do want to thank Minnesota Masonic Charities.
Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. But my dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz.
And here's Talk North star Michael Russo for Clamshell Beach Resorts.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
Big picture, Roy, it's so easy to cast for the average sports fan, especially the average sports fan who doesn't love baseball, to think of baseball players as unathletic. And I just think so every once in a while, and we're seeing it in this postseason with Guerrero and Judge and, so many great hitters, and Raleigh just doing amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, you think, what do we value most in football? Well, the guy who can drop back and throw the football. Well, throwing football accurately under pressure, it's very difficult. That's proven out by so few people can actually do it at that level. It's incredibly difficult. At basketball, dunking, shooting 3-pointers with somebody's hand in your face, all very difficult stuff. Hockey, shooting a flat, vulcanized piece of rubber with a fairly flat stick and controlling it, very difficult. I just don't think there's anything more difficult or athletic than doing what some of these hitters are doing right now.
Well, I mean, you're preaching to a really big choir over here. So I agree with you. I think it's the single hardest thing to do. I agree with Ted, Williams. I mean, the single hardest thing to do in sport. And in a list of really, really hard things to do in sport athletically, there's no question about it. But I won't belabor that. I'll just say that in addition to what you just said, I've been hearing for 2, 3, 4, 5 years now, and Rocco kept telling me, I would ask him about different things, and Rocco kept telling me, you don't understand, the pitchers are so much better than when you played, and they throw so much harder, and blah 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 blah. And I think about what Mickey did, or what Ted did, or Stan Musial, or all these guys. I mean, George Brett, Don Mattingly, all these guys. And I go, really, they were hitting against inferior opponents. Okay, let's say you're right. Let's say the pitching has plussed up half again better. It's 150% better than it was in, quote, the old days. Well, holy cow! Then how does Cal Raleigh hit 60 home runs as a switch hitting catcher? How does Judge do what he does? How does Ohtani do what he does? If what they're saying is true, then these guys are superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah, and I think they might be. I think Judge's home run, what Raleigh did this year, what Ohtani's done, the level of athletic ability in the game right now is just stunning.
I mean, that's, you think about how hitters are scouted and hitters are schemed against now with all these analytics and all these approaches, and pitchers inventing different pitches now. The sweepers become a thing. Pitchers are learning to throw more pitches. What's the pitcher for the Royals? Seth Lugo throws 9 different pitches. I think Sonny Gray could throw 7 different pitches. You got Twin starters trying to learn a 4th and 5th pitch. They're trying to come up with so many different arsenals to stop these guys, and they're still putting up numbers. I'm sitting here looking at the top 10 list with slugging percentage. It's ridiculous. And then you got a rookie, this Kurtz kid from the Athletics, who probably had the greatest single game in the history of baseball. Was second behind Judge's slugging percentage. Buxton's 5th in this list, by the way. And the other thing is something Joe Mauer has said a couple of times, that when he first started playing, it was probably a done deal that he was going to face a pitcher 3 times, maybe 4 in a game. And he said by the end of his career, he may be facing 3 pitchers in the same game, just because they're so worried about hitter familiarity. And so that's another challenge for these hitters in today's game, because they have to face different pitchers within 9 innings.
It's so true. It is so hard. And I will go to back to what Tony Oliva said to me one time. He said, I always wanted to see Jim Palmer or Catfish Hunt or and he would name, the best pitchers in the game. I said, why were you excited about that? He says, because I knew they were going to be in for my 4th time at bat. And by the 4th time, I got them. But that just accentuates what you're saying, LaVelle. I mean, it's absolutely true. The biggest change, why it's so much more difficult to hit, and why the really great hitters today are truly great, is because you're going to get no more than 3 at bats against the starter, and most times 2, and then you get a reliever they can't even be a reliever now unless he throws 95 minimum, and so, and it's going to be, you're going to be left-handed, and it's going to be a left-hander out there, right? I mean, I will give them this. When I played, there weren't, a lot of power lefties in the bullpen, right? I mean, they were all, as our joke goes, and Jack Morris and all the rest of us, the bullpen, the guys in the bullpen are just failed starters, right? The guys that didn't make the rotations, they sent them out to the bullpen. Totally different now. Totally different. They have guys, and we've talked about it. LaVelle talks about it all the time. How are the Twins going to repair this bullpen? Well, it's going to be with a left-hander that throws 98, or a right-hander that throws 98. I mean, that's what it is now, and it's tough. It is hard to hit that way.
No doubt about it. And yeah, I'm blown away. And the good thing is, everything we're talking about here. Listen, there's the romantic notion of the starting pitcher going out there and trying to pitch. Try to be Jack Morris, trying to pitch a game-winning shutout, and we don't have that anymore. But it has been replaced by guys coming into the game, throwing 100 miles an hour, and hitters who can hit 100 miles over the fence, which is fascinating in a very different way, but it's still pretty entertaining.
It is for me. I've really enjoyed. I've enjoyed this postseason, and we got a lot more to come.
Yeah, it's been great so far. It's been a blast.
Yeah, because there's no dominant team. It's up for grabs. I still think there's a great chance of a Seattle-Milwaukee World Series, which I think would be awesome. Maybe not for TV executives, but it'd be great for baseball.
I mean, but you look at all the teams in the playoffs. This is what I have loved about it. All the teams in the playoffs have two guys that you just can't wait to see them come up to the plate. Every single team has at least two guys, and so and one of those two guys is really something that you want to see, right? So I mean, it's just really fun.
Yeah.
No, Roy, you just reminded me of something. What did you think about the Phillies-Dodgers game with Castellanos on third and the bunt, which I disagreed with? Mookie called the wheel play, was able to cover it, but I was surprised the bunt went to the right side of the infield, left side of the infield. I think we bunted it toward first to make sure that if Castellanos was
right. So there two things about that. First of all, Muncy was right on top of him at third base on the wheel play. But what the camera didn't show was that Freddie Freeman was right on top of him on the other side. And Freddie Freeman, Gold Glove guy, is as good as it gets on a bunt play like that. So when you got someone throwing the ball hard at you and you're trying to bunt, I was a pretty good bunter. And, Mock taught me when I was a kid, in high school. He taught me how to catch literally try to catch the ball, the pitch on the end of your bat, right? They just lean out there like you're holding a glove, and I had my hand on the label and of the bat. I just leaned out there and had the tried to catch it on the end of the bat and bunt it right back to the worst fielder in the infield, which is the pitcher, right? I wanted it headed right back at the pitcher, deadened off the end of the bat, and that's the only thing that he could have done better, was not to try to pick a side, because both of those guys were right in his face. Yep. The only thing they could have done was try to deaden the ball back at the pitcher and have somebody have to, not get a ball that's hit right to him, right? So, I mean, if he had bunted the same ball right to the first base side, Freeman would have made the out at third base as well. So that was tough duty right there. The Dodgers played that better than I've seen that play made in 20 years.
Mm. That's saying something. Wow. All right. Good stuff. Let's move on to our Booze and Blue segment. I'll start it off, gentlemen. You can contribute any way you like if you have anything this week. So I trip to Dublin and London for the NFL games. First, I'm very Irish. First trip to Ireland. It was fantastic. Everything about it was great. The city, the outlying parts of the city. We went up to the peninsula. I think it's called Hout, and did a hike where we ended up on basically a mountaintop looking down on the Irish Bay and the Channel. It's just beautiful place. And of course, I have a lot of dietary allergies, and I say I have a gluten allergy, but I don't think it's exactly that. It's something in that realm where like stuff they put in American bread just ends up killing me, but I can eat like bread in Europe. What I didn't know was that I could drink Guinness. So I had a
Oh.
Guinness, and I was like, okay, I might be in the fetal position for the next 24 hours, but I might give it a shot. Fresh Guinness in Dublin. I'm going to take the risk. I drank it. It felt like a B12 shot. I didn't just feel not bad. I felt fantastic. So now I come home and I realize I can drink Guinness, which I love. And there's a new show, I think it's on Netflix, House of Guinness, which is kind of his fictional historic drama about the Guinness family, how this little brewery in Dublin, Ireland ended up becoming this world dominant business. So now I can actually sit home, drink a Guinness while watching House of Guinness. Pretty successful trip for me.
Good for you. That's a big win right there.
Yes.
Guinness. I mean, there's nothing better. You get to the end of the day and I think I like to have a beer and you walk in someplace and they've got Guinness on tap and everything's good. Everything
is good. No doubt about it. Do either of you have booze and blues contributions for this week?
I have a music contribution, not necessarily blues. How about reggae? March 21st, 1998. I had to go look this up. I was down in spring training covering the Twins, and I had a couple of days off, and I like soccer, so the Chicago Fire was in their first year in MLS, and they played their inaugural game at Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. So I drove up to watch the game. So I'm watching the game, and unbeknownst to me, the announcer goes over to the loudspeaker and says, "Make sure you stay after the game, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a concert by Ziggy Marley." And I'm like, "What? Ziggy Marley's here?" So the game ends, the Fire wins. So I go down on the field to listen to Ziggy Marley. It was awesome, right? He comes out blasting right away with, "I got the power to move you. I got the power to groove you." The person on my left lit a joint. The person on my right lit a joint. The person behind me lit up a joint. I was like, okay, this is going to be a very interesting evening. But I had a blast. And the only reason I'm saying is that Ziggy Marley is in town this week. He's playing at Mystic Lake. And I was like, man, 1998 was a long time ago. But the man is still rocking and rolling. And he just happens to be in town performing this week. So I thought that was pretty interesting and was worth a mention.
I love it. Well, living in apartment buildings in downtown Minneapolis, there must be a lot of Ziggy Marley concerts going on in these hallways because about half the time I walk down a hallway, it smells like a reggae concert.
That's awesome.
Anything from you this week, Roy?
No, I don't think I have. I don't think I have anything new this year. This week, I'm glad you brought up the your Guinness win. That's a life-changing event for you. And I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I found a. They should sponsor the program. Actually, I found a Minnesota company that makes gluten-free like breads and pizza doughs and all that. So I make a lot of my own food. And between that and Guinness, I don't need to ever leave the house again.
I will just say one thing. We were in, my wife and I were in Europe for a couple of weeks. The first part of October, we started the trip with 4 days at Lake Como, which is spectacular. And the only reason I bring it up, I mean, we went to Lake Como and we pretended like we were big shots, but
you are,
hobnobbing with people that have net worths minimum 10 times greater than mine, and so we were pretending to be a part of that milieu, and I chartered this beautiful old wooden boat, and the captain left from the hotel out off Lake Como, and he took us on basically a tour of the lake. And basically what that means is you tour $50 to $100 million mansions that line both sides of Lake Como. And so we saw the obligatory George Clooney one that supposedly he bought for $10 million. The yacht captain said, there's whispers that he wants to sell it, and the whispers are that he's going to get $100 million for his $10 million investment. Those kinds of things. But the best thing and the best thing that we saw though was we saw just out of the blue, this guy goes, "Oh, there's the I don't know if you like Guinness, but there's the Guinness mansion over there." So Lake Como is an amazing place. It's the most universally global, diversified billionaire place I think I've ever seen.
Wow. Well, I hope that my sister's been to Lake Como. I do hope to get there on our next trip to Italy. We loved Italy, and that would be a highlight. So hopefully we'll probably take the same tour as you did, I'm sure.
I highly recommend it.
You could have went in February if we were covering the Olympics.
True. I did spend time in Turin, Italy during an Olympics, and that was, it wasn't a great Olympics. I'll put it that way. The place we stayed, the workload, we just didn't get to have much fun. So I was really glad I went back with my wife for a vacation because that was fantastic. All right, good stuff, gentlemen. We'll have more playoffs to talk about, maybe some more managerial search news to get to next week. Enjoyed it. Thanks to Roy. Thanks to LaVelle Neal III. Thanks to everyone who listens. We do appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week.